Hi everyone, this is Natalie Vartanian of nataliethecoach.com, and here we are, number 3. This is the third of a series of Google Hangouts on air that I've started to address specific topics around love, and they're usually things that either are brought up to me in conversation with my clients and or things that I'm thinking about that I just feel is pertinent to share. But it's just a conversation that I would like to have, and hopefully it serves you. And the hope is that if it is something that you find benefit from, you can easily share this with your friends and loved ones and colleagues and whoever else you think could use some information around love. That's why I've got to say the Google Hangout on air thing is just rocking my world, because once you're done filming, it's on YouTube, and then it's just a click away to be able to share it with everyone. So this month's topic, self-love. And yes, I was being completely cheeky with what self-love got to do with it anyway. And timing is not lost on me, as I literally had a client today telling me, I've been thinking about the self-love thing you and I were talking about since our last session. And I mean, I feel like I'm doing it, but I just, and there still is this way in which it is either elusive or confusing. And at that time, my suggestion to her was, pick a new word, because really, if self-love, the word isn't working for you, and I've seen that a lot of times where we get so wrapped up in how we perceive it to be, without even taking the time to figure out the meaning of it, the actual dictionary definition of it. But what does it mean to you? And also, what do you want it to mean? Because we're at choice with how we interpret things. I know it's a novel concept for some, but if that definition, again, is not working for you, find one that does. No one says we have to stick to the same rules of what self-love means. Because here's the thing. For me, when I think about self-love, it's like breathing. It's that important. And it's that essential to my everyday functioning in the world. If I am not filled up, if I have not given myself enough attention and care and love and nurturing, I'm going to be good to no one. Zero. And I'll tell you a little story. Recently, this past week or two, I've been in a place that's been hard. It's been challenging to kind of give. And so here's the thing around that. Like, we are love machines, whether we realize it or not. And we've been taught to give. We've been taught from little to give love, right? To make sure everyone is taken care of, to make sure everyone is okay, be considerate of other people's needs, of other people's wants, blah, blah, blah. All good stuff. Especially for us women, we get into this place where we are output machines. And yet what's missing is the input. But the thing is, we are the first people that need to be responsible for our own input. We can't wait for other people to fill us up. First of all, people don't read minds. Second of all, they might be thinking the same thing. Like, I'm tapped out and I'm giving, and why isn't anyone giving to me? We don't know the situations, but it's so imperative for us to make sure our cups are full, right? So self-love to me is, again, the way I see it, is a way to fill up my cup. And that way I come full to any given situation. If I'm dating somebody, and it's kind of crude, but I don't need your love. I don't need your love. I want your love, but I don't need it because I'm already full. So that's one of the ways in which self-love can benefit. If we're filling up our cup, then we don't have to worry about other people filling it for us. We kind of cut that needy energy. from the equation, because we're good. And what we get from others in return, the love that we get from others, is just cherry on the sundae. So self-love, again, to me is like breathing. It's that foundation. It's a non-negotiable. It's not some woo, trendy kind of thing. It is essential to self-care, to self-preservation, to self just functioning in the world. So back to the story. The past 2 weeks, I have felt like I've just been outputting more than I've been inputting, right? Both with clients, with some friends. I've been covering for people. I've haven't been as strong in the self-care practices, but more than that, again, it was just a lot of output, lots of coaching sessions, lots of tarot sessions, which I love. Don't get me wrong, I love all of those things. But it got to a point where I was definitely reaching almost empty. And then to top that off, my partner, Bob, was also feeling low and coming to me for support or emotional support, and I just couldn't. It got to a point literally where I just couldn't. And what happens a lot of times I've seen is that when we aren't full and that self-love hasn't been pointed back at us, we get cranky. We get patience is lost. We get short. We basically aren't able to give because we're under-resourced. There is nothing to give. I mean, literally, if the cup is empty, I cannot get water out of it. And so I realized I couldn't rely on my partner as much as I would have loved to have him fill me up in that moment. He couldn't. He just couldn't. And so I needed to find ways to love myself and have that be enough. And so I started journaling, or I think a few times I just went on walks by myself. And finally we went to the beach, and even though we went together, there was still this space of me reading and me doing whatever I needed to do, being in the water, whatever it was, for me to be able to fill up. So going back to the original question, what does self-love mean to you? Ask yourself that just in this moment. When you think of caring for yourself, loving yourself, making sure you're full and you're good, what does that mean? And then what does that look like? Because it could look like 10, 15, 20 different things. And find the things that you know work, because they're your go-to. Because when we're under-resourced, the last thing that we can think about, and I've asked when someone's under-resourced, when their self-love tank is empty, what can I do for you? What do you need? They're like, I don't know. I just don't know. Because nothing's functioning. Nothing is functioning. So maybe make a list and keep it somewhere so that you can pull it out when you are feeling under-resourced, and when you are feeling like you're running low. You have this list to go to of things you know that can fill you up. Maybe it's making yourself a cup of tea. Maybe it's taking a night off and turning off your phone and being able to just be with yourself. Maybe it's taking yourself out on a date, going to the gardens, going on a hike, taking a bath. But just whatever feels like you are loving on yourself. And that might be hard to think about, but try swapping. If your best friend or someone you love more than life came to you and was telling you, I'm just so tapped out, what would you want to do for them? What would you give to them to help? What would you recommend as things that they could do to fill up their love tank? So to me, that's the differentiation, that there is no differentiation. Self-love and love to others, there's no difference. It's the things we would do for other people because we love them and we want them to feel loved. Same thing. It's you pointing that back at you. What would you do for yourself to make yourself feel loved? What would you do to make yourself know that you're worthy and you're deserving and you get to be pampered and you get to have all the wonderful things in the world? Because when we do fill up like that, again, we're way more grounded, we're way more calm, we're not as focused on the other. And I do want to make one final kind of plug around self-love. I know a lot of times when it comes up, people tend to use that kind of analogy that if you don't love yourself, how can you love anybody else? And where that's true, that's not 100% true. Even when we're not completely loving ourselves, we're still loving other people all the time. And even when we're look at moms, look at mothers that are running on 3 hours of sleep and they barely have time for themselves, but yet they are taking care of their kids, they're bathing them, they're feeding them, they're taking them to school, they're spending quality time with them. It's not as much about the fact that you can't love other people if you're not loving yourself. It's more that you will have more to give. You will have more to love with if you are loving yourself. Again, filling up the cup so that it's spilling over and it's not taking away from you. So that's my just kind of thoughts around that whole you can't love other people if you can't love yourself thing. I think it's kind of bullshit, but that's just me. So lastly, I just want to speak to really being mindful of how we show up in a relationship. And I alluded to it a little bit before of the energy you come to a relationship with, or a date, or anybody in your life. When you come from a place of self-love, it isn't needy. You're not looking at the other person like, fill me up, or fill up a hole that I have. You're coming from a place of, I know how to fill myself up. And I'm making a request and asking you if you wouldn't mind sometimes either pitching in and or being the cherry on top of the sundae. Totally different energy, right? Because I know that there have been times that I've come to the table and I've been depleted or I've been expectant of another person to love me when I wasn't taking responsibility. And to be responsible is to know that you have a choice and you know that you are the owner of your own world, your actions, your outcomes, your situations. So I have to take responsibility for filling me up, for loving me, for realizing if there's something inside myself that needs to be loved on, that there might be a gap and that I need to figure out a way to fill it. Now, if it is something that I can't do alone, then like I said, you can make a request of somebody, right? And you can say, hey, I could really use your help. Would you be willing to, love me in this certain way or help care for me? But it's because you've already tried everything that you can on your own, and you're coming to the table with an ask, with a request, instead of, I can't do this, I need somebody else to do it. Why won't people love me? Why, just that frustration and that neediness is such a killer. It really is. It's such a killer. So that's what I've got for you today. It's really a short and sweet one. There's not much to say about self-love. I'm probably just going to repeat myself 5 times by telling you that it's just like breathing. And when we get really good at it, that's what it feels like. That you just know the things you need to do, like brushing your teeth, like going for a walk, like washing the makeup off your face at night before you go to bed. They're just things that you do in your day-to-day so that you feel full and you feel loved and you feel cared for. And when you get to that place, it's so much easier to be in relationship with other people. That's all. So figure out what it means to you. Figure out what are some ways that you can love yourself and can nurture yourself, basically filling your cup back up. Write them down somewhere so that when you are in a moment of being under-resourced, you're not having to then, again, put more stress on yourself to try and remember or to figure it out. Make it easy. Make it easy to love you. And then lastly, get into a habit and a routine and make it where it's just automatic. You know, again, where it becomes like a habit. Because when you come from that full place, just everything in life is easier. Not just relationship, not just dating, not just love. Everything. Your work is impacted, how you are with your friends, how you are with your family, how much fun you have when you go out. You know, this is the biggest gift you can give to yourself. Take care of you. So if there isn't anything else, I don't think we have any questions here, but so yeah, parting words. And don't get all crazy. Don't think that it's this huge thing. You know, it is important, but it's not so important to stress about it. It's be compassionate with yourself. It's a process. No one teaches us this shit. And this is why I'm here. No one teaches us about this stuff. And so do what you can, little by little, baby step by baby step. And when you get to a place where it's a habit, cool, then you can ask, you know, what's the next level of self-love for me? What's the next level of self-care and self-compassion? And when you can get to that place, you know, we keep going. It's ever evolving. But when you're filled up and when you have that like love for yourself, man, you show up so much differently, way more confident, way more able, way more ready to tackle the world. And I want that for all of you. So thank you so much for being here. If you haven't already, make sure to go to the website, nataliethecoach.com/newsletter to get on the newsletter. I have an e-guide for you, top 5 ways that you are unknowingly sabotaging the relationship of your dreams, the partner of your dreams being attracted to you. And also as part of a thank you for joining the newsletter, I'm also giving a workbook, which is the first section of my virtual love course. So basically, you get section 1 of my course for free. Who doesn't love free? So go to the website, nataliethecoach.com/newsletter, sign up, get the goodies, and work it. Because I will tell you, I had someone recently that went through the workbook, and she said literally 2 or 3 days later, she had multiple men asking her out. It's that powerful when you are aware and then you start doing the work to have different, to do different, to have different. So take me up on it. I love to give in this way and serve however I can. And until next time.